From the while I've been playing Roblox fighting games, you can usually tell what a person is like by just looking at their main fighting game. Be it clanners, casuals, the cosplayers, or the cosplayers. Each game has their own stereotype for a player. At the moment, the most popular of these fighting games are Battlegrounds. Now, obligatory disclaimer, a stereotype doesn't mean everyone. It's supposed to be oversimplified. So before we go into a rant about how you aren't that type of player, then keep in mind what I said earlier. But if you came here with the mindset of proving me wrong, well, this probably won't change your mind. If you play Juicy Shenanigans, then you're probably a cosplayer or you're a self-proclaimed casual player, yet it's basically the only game you ever play. Out of all the Battlegrounds, JJS has the highest amount of cosplayers I have ever seen. A lot of the time they are cosplaying a JJK character, but they aren't limited to just JJK. Due to Juicy Shenanigans being a more casual environment than the average Battleground, you can usually spot them hanging around in groups or just sparring somewhere. And since it is a more casual environment, these players aren't all that good. But if you dare attack one of them, well, you might as well be attacking all of them. There's also a secondary type of cosplayer, and they stand out in their own way. That is the female cosplayers. Aside from them being, well, female, they've probably put more hours into Juicy Shenanigans than you have put into Roblox. So usually they're probably better than the average cosplayer. Despite this, they also hang out in groups a majority of the time, and same as before, they will attack you if you even dare attack one of them. And I don't know why, but there's so many people who claim to play this game casually, despite it being basically the only game that they ever play. And not only that, they will go to lengths to defend this game no matter what. Now, to be clear, by a stan I mean that they have an extreme amount of admiration for their favorite game, which usually leads them to get pretty defensive about said game. These are usually the most average player you will find in Juicy Shenanigans and are usually pretty chill. They aren't too big of tryhards, but they aren't bad either, and they're also pretty cool company. They are all tryhards. Yes, really, almost all of them. The reason why there is so many of them stems from the game's age, by far being the oldest surviving battleground with an extremely dedicated player base. Due to many of them being tryhards, or as you're called now, sweats, it can also get pretty toxic and heated in fights. And by tryhard I mean that they try their hardest to win no matter what. And if they really did their hardest and they lost, well, they'll keep coming back time and time again. Or they will get their friends on to start ganking you. There's also another type of player who I normally wouldn't include since every single battleground has some of these. But due to TSB being on the front page, there is a lot more of them than usually. And the player I'm talking about is the noob. I am not sure if I can even consider them players since it feels like they don't even know what game they're playing. Most of the time they haven't even figured out how to change classes, let alone what a combo is. They usually don't stick around for too long, but they're always there and there will always be more of them. You like the combat of TSB and the physics of JJS. Yes, that's it. There's quite a few TSB players who have migrated over to Realm Rampage, but the same can't really be said about JJS players. Since the combat is different, many of the JJS players simply didn't like it or just found it too different. Some weeks after the launch of Realm Rampage, it lost a big part of its initial player base, which was mostly JJS players who went back to JJS. But due to the influence of Juicy Shenanigans, Realm Rampage does have a more relaxed aspect, but still majorly inhabits combo demon tryhards. That being said, they're way more relaxed than the average tryhard is, so there's also that. You also get pretty annoyed by these so-called JJS casual players that I talked about earlier, as they will constantly point out how Realm Rampage copied JJS's physics, which, you know, isn't true at all. You probably like to whine about the game a lot. And despite this, you refuse to play any other battleground aside from Sorcerer Battlegrounds. And I don't know why, but like a big majority of the leaderboard players, or just high level players overall, are all femboys or furries. Yes, really. With this game, it's like if you have a fursuit on, you gain like a 20% overall stat boost. The game also has a rather big clanning scene. If you see anyone with a clan tag in game, you're just better off leaving. Because I'm not even joking, the server will fill up in about 2 minutes if you attack them even once and win. They also tend to have some extremely inappropriate outfits, and I'm not talking about the usual explicit outfits. What I'm talking about are some of the crazy shirts and t-shirts. And these same types of people aren't always in a clan, but they always hang out in groups, usually with the same type of people. Generally, they don't really talk in the in-game chat, but they're probably in a call, so don't try attacking them. You can also spot these players with other people who they might be matching outfits with, and if you see that they're matching outfits, well, it's guaranteed that if one of them is fighting, then they're both fighting. And these people are generally called e-daters, but I see that term linked around for anyone who is playing with someone female. But in this case, it's pretty safe to assume that they are in fact e-couples. And that's about it. I know that there's other Battlegrounds I could have talked about, like Heroes Battlegrounds and the hundreds and hundreds of streak farmers for that, or Z Battlegrounds, which is just dead. I know, ironic coming from the so-called SPG YouTuber. This is basically an introductive video to the series because I plan to make one of these separately for each game. The entire point of this is just to make some fun of some funny stereotypes, and truth be told, each game has a lot of them. So I can't really go in depth about all of them just in this one video. Depending on how well this does, I might make this a long ongoing series, or I might just make 2 or 3 of them. But with that, I will see you in the next one.
Let me get this straight. You have a fully reloaded shot.